Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the Tom Follow-Up Workshop. My name is Rachel Street from Las Cumbres Observatory, and we're very happy to welcome you to a workshop focused on everything to do with follow-up observations in the era of ZTF and LSST. And before we begin the main program, I'd like to start with a few logistical items for the rest of the workshop. So to start off with, the workshop itself is made possible thanks to the development program of the LSST Corporation. One of their goals is to work with member institutions like Las Cumbres to create and support programs like this that benefit the whole community. And they provide additional benefits such as support for venues and travel funding and so on. If that's something that might interest you or your organisation, please contact Jenno Sokolowski. So for this meeting, this is your organising team. They're all sitting along the back there. Everyone's very friendly. Come and feel free to ask us questions at any time. And so I'm PI of the TARM Toolkit project. Myself and Sandy are here to answer questions at any time. And we have a team of our software engineers from LCO who will be producing the really detailed technical content. So you found the main venue. This is the main auditorium. We have breakout sessions that will take place in 3 rooms simultaneously. You can join any one of the sessions, and they're all identical, so you won't miss anything. There's a session in the Hale Library, the main conference room, and the garden level conference room, and you access the garden level conference room by a set of stairs that are just outside the Hale Library. Please don't leave any of your stuff in any of these rooms unattended because we can't guarantee that it's entirely safe. So we do have limited parking available, as I said in the introduction email. It's round on the side of the building on this side, rather than the other side, which will be locked. We will have catered coffee breaks morning and afternoon, and we will also be providing breakfast. That will be in the foyer that you just came through out there with those tables. And you're very welcome to use the garden area for seating as well. You'll find information on the local restaurants on the meeting website. Hopefully by now you will have seen the network connection details. They're right behind me on the board here. If not, that is the network password and it is case sensitive. So everybody take a picture of that now, but there are notices up around the building if you forget. Pause to allow cameras. Right. Okay. Everybody get it? Good. Oh, no. Wait. Right. Okay. Good. So, as I said, we'll be serving breakfast every morning from 8 a.m. Out in the foyer earlier, and morning and afternoon coffee breaks. Lunch and dinner are on your own. And if you would like to arrange for food to be delivered, then please contact Sandy at our reception desk because we can arrange that if it's more convenient. We have a welcome reception this afternoon, courtesy of Caltech. That's going to be at the Caltech Athenaeum on the front lawn. And the address for that is 551 South Hill Avenue. So we can go there immediately after we break this afternoon. We do have a code of conduct for the meeting. It's not complicated. It's basically be nice and play nice with the other kids. Please do read it. We do take it very seriously, both ourselves and also for LSST in general, and it is a very good way to make sure that the meeting is productive and constructive for everybody. Please see myself or Sandy if you have any concerns. For social media, you're nobody without a Twitter handle these days, so there it is. Please use it. And we also have a Slack channel on the LSSTC Slack, which hopefully you have all signed up to by now. If you don't have an account with them, please contact myself and Federica and agree to the code of conduct, and you'll be signed up to that channel. We use it extensively at LCO, so we'll be using it for all meeting announcements and so on. Those of you who are speaking later on this week, you will have received a link to this Google Drive. Please upload your talk slides prior to your session, and I highly recommend that you come and make sure that your presentation displays as you would like it to see from this Mac here on the podium. All of our plenary sessions are being streamed and hopefully recorded, if I've set the kit up correctly, thanks to the Blue Jeans channel provided by LSSTC. And if you have any questions, please ask them on the meeting Slack channel, which is easier for me to monitor, and we'll make sure those get answered. In general, we like to encourage an open data policy, so we would like to make all of the presentations from this workshop available online after the meeting. Of course, I do recognize that some people have sensitive content, so if you would prefer that not be the case, please let me know. And especially if there's any particular slide in your talk that you really don't want shared, please mark it with this symbol so that nobody will tweet it online. And if you see that symbol on anybody's slide, I don't want to see it on Twitter. Thank you. We will be taking a few photos throughout the workshop. We would like to share these on our website, so if you prefer not to be photographed, please let me or Sandy know, and of course we will respect your wishes. And that's it for logistics. So are there any questions at this point? If not, then I would like to introduce Austin Reber, who is one of our software team and one of the lead developers of the TOM Toolkit, who's going to give us the first introduction.
David, come up. So as Rachel mentioned, I'm Austin Reba. I'm one of the developers on the TOM Toolkit project along with David Cullum here. So we just wanted to do a quick overview of some of the reasoning behind the technical decisions we made while designing the TOM Toolkit. So we'll get started. So yeah, the engineering goals of the TOM were to provide some of common functionality for people that wanted to manage their observing programs. We wanted it to be easy to customize, but we also wanted to kind of minimize the amount of real software engineering knowledge required. So that's kind of where we started out. So we decided pretty early on that we wanted to build this thing for the web. Makes sense, it's collaborative software. Technically, we could have done desktop application, but no one really likes to install stuff on their computers these days, and it's much easier to write web applications now than it was 10, 15 years ago. So here's some of the benefits of web applications. They're easy to develop. They're super easy to distribute, right? We just push code and then, you push code and then your users just get it the next time they log in. Runs in a web browser. You don't need to attribute installers and all that kind of stuff. And especially these days, we're approaching native performance and feature parity. So that was an easy choice. Get the next one. Oh.
So as far as language choices go, I don't think there was much of a discussion. Obviously, Python is the ubiquitous language in the sciences. There's great library support already for astronomy. You've got your AstroPy and AstroPlan, which we use a lot in the TOM Toolkit. And it's fantastic for web development, very well tested, very obvious choice.
Okay, so when you combine the requirement for it to run on the web and Python, you end up looking at Django. So Django is a very well-supported and super mature web framework. It's based on Python. I want to say it's probably over 15 years old at this point, so it's very stable. And it's super extensible. So the TOM Toolkit is not the first framework to be built on top of Django. So there's a precedence for this, and again, pretty obvious choice. Another thing that we really wanted to make sure that we had was the ability to extend this thing with plugins. So we did our best to allow people to write their own functionality in the form of plugins and then distribute that functionality to the wider community. And Brian here. So Brian in the back was one of the first early adopters of this, and he wrote a plugin for the Gemini Observatory. So later on this week, we'll take a look at that, and that actually adds Gemini functionality to the Tom.
Just as a couple more additions to the slide, sorry. We also had contributions from Lazaire in the early days, and just as an example of how easy it is to write your own plugins, Austin and I have both written them live at various workshops. So we designed it so that it could be done in that fashion. So this is just a little snippet of what the Gemini facility looks like and what Brian had to write to get things up and running. There's obviously a lot more code underneath this, but this is the extent of what the observation facility interface looks like that he went through and implemented in order to get it working for Gemini.
Thanks, Brian.
So one powerful aspect of the Django framework that we're leveraging is the templating engine. So there's a lot of templates that we wrote that are very easy to override within the Django framework. Layouts can be written entirely with HTML and CSS, no Python necessary, and it makes it easy to take the work that we've done or the work that Django has already done and simply customize individual pages for your own use case. And here's an example of one of the base pages that we provide. And this is sort of broken up into components that can be overridden at an implementer's leisure. The details on the left side, I know Jamie, one of our instructors today, has customized that pretty heavily for his own work, and simply that piece. Oh, and there's an example of an early stage version of what he wrote to make it look a little bit more palatable for his use case.
So if you're working on the internals of the Tom Toolkit or even writing plugins, you're going to be relying pretty heavily on object-oriented programming. So if you have familiarity with that, that's great. If not, you will learn. So obviously the tried and true benefits of object-oriented programming is you only change what you need to, you get to reuse code, etc. This next slide can either be inspiring for some people or the opposite for others. Now this is typical of certain kinds of object-oriented programming where you have like 6 different layers of inheritance going on. So you can see that we're Django 4 layers deep, and then we have some Tom stuff, and then finally you can customize things if you need to. Okay, so then the one other feature of Django is the concept of reusable apps. Again, this is the idea that you can take functionality that you developed for your Tom, package it up into something that you can upload to PyPy, and then other people can use it. When you work in Django, you're going to be using a bunch of different reusable apps that have nothing to do with the Tom, but they provide functionality that's very helpful. And I'm not going to linger on these slides, but big parts of the Tom Toolkit are bundled into reusable apps that are useful for different things. Yeah. So in technology, people like to have really strong opinions about programming languages and technology and stuff. So we just included this slide so that you could judge us.
Nothing on this slide.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yes.
How do you handle not changing?
So the thing is, if you take an object and mark it,
Yeah.
and you say equal to that marker and to that object, so you create another object, and you change this object.
Yeah.
Technically now should be the next marker. Always part of reference. To actually compensate for that, or is there not a copy?
Generally, just don't copy objects. I'm not really sure that I've ever actually seen this come up. So, like, so generally, yeah, you just don't copy objects. When you're working in the TOM, most of your objects, if not all of them, are backed by the ORM. So it's data that's coming from the database. And if you want to copy them, there's methods to do that that don't involve copying them in memory.
Does the TOM toolkit
They started about the same time, actually. Yeah. So Mars is not a TOM. Yeah.
choice?
Yes.
You're clearly going along paths.
So they're completely different paths. So we chose Django for the TOM toolkit because it has all of this extensibility. It's much larger, provides much more functionality. Whereas Mars is like a single web service that does one job. It only has one job, and it does it okay. So that's why we chose Flask instead. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so the format for the rest of the afternoon is that we have those 3 breakout sessions going that I spoke of earlier. There are 3 different rooms you can go to, and feel free to take any one of them. We'll be coming back here, I think, at 3:30 for a coffee break. But if you want to follow our team out now, and they will lead you to the 3 different directions, you can pick any room, and we'll get started with the hands-on tutorial.